we don't even know what they've done. I mean, we found out that they gave out $100.4 billion. About 60% of it went to foreign banks. We would have never known that because they did that in secret through AIG. Had somebody not complained and demanded that they know, and finally they released a list of banks who had received the money and the reason why they received it, although they wouldn't tell you that, is that AIG had been running naked on their derivative contracts and couldn't pay off. And that's going to happen again with this GM fiasco. And so it's all these little things that go on that's how they profit. And that's why the bankers want a Fed Reserve, because they control the money supply. And in that control, they control the country.
60% to foreign banks? That is unbelievable. Let's go to Sherry in Kansas. Sherry, you're on the air. Go ahead, please, with Bob Chapman. Sherry in Kansas?
Good morning. You had Ellen Brown on Web of Debt, and she talked about the states forming their own banks not affiliated with the Federal Reserve. And we actually, a friend of mine presented a proposal to our state committee this year during the legislative session. We haven't got them to act on it yet, but that's what I think is our real support, or, what may really help. And I was wondering if Bob knows much about how the State Bank of North Dakota works, and if he could recommend any way to find out more how it works.
Okay, let me go to Bob Chapman. Bob Chapman, know anything about the State Bank of North Dakota?
Not specifically, but there's been state-chartered banks for many years. They're nothing new. It's just that it was simpler for the banking system to use the Fed and become a member of the Federal Reserve system, so to speak. But state banks do their own thing. They're not covered, I don't think, by the FDIC.
Okay, we'll be right back after this 1 minute, 10-second break with more of Bob Chapman in the Power Hour. This is Joyce Riley. Stay tuned. The Big Lie, ladies and gentlemen, and the Big Lie could not be more impressive than the lie regarding money in this country. And I thank all of you who ordered. I think all of the Money as Debt documentaries are gone right now. This is awesome. And it explains it, even with some cartoon characters, so you can understand and see it visually what's happening. It's an excellent DVD. We'll have to have the gentleman on that did this DVD as a real professional. But it really, really points out what a fraud and a scam we're living in. Let me go to, let's see, anything else you wanted to add about the state-run banks, Bob Chapman?
No, other than I find them preferable because their investment policies are usually extremely conservative, and it would cut back on the monopolization of what the Federal Reserve does. But a better situation would be to get rid of the Fed, have a U.S. notes issued, have the Treasury handle that, and expand the state banking system.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sherry, for the phone call. Sherry's really on top of this. Let's go to Steve in Illinois. Steve, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, this didn't get wide publicity, but it was in the Tagesschau on last week, Friday. Obama was in Dresden, Germany, and they were up to their old tricks again. When Obama was there a year ago, they were tearing down protest signs. Now we have it again. The protest is not allowed against Obama. The policemen there tore down 54 protest signs because it was an insult.
Okay, what does this have to do with the financial situation right now?
Well, I thought it was the international outlook.
It is, and you're right. And let me tell you what was on those signs. And what you brought up is extremely important, and we covered it in the International Forecaster on Saturday. And that is, the sign said, "Give us back our gold." 2 months ago, the German government requested the gold, which had been held over the years in the New York Fed Reserve and at West Point in New York, to be returned. And Larry Summers said to them, well, look, we had an agreement, and the Germans said, well, times have changed. And someone says, well, it's in good keeping. And they said, we don't believe that. We want our gold back. And that's what those signs were all about.
Wow. Very good. And also...
And this was completely blocked out in the American media. And the result of that is Obama in Germany looked like a complete idiot.
All right. Thank you very much, Steve. Good point you made. And again, if you want to know what's happening in the International Forecaster newsletter in advance of you hearing it on the Power Hour, call 877-479-8178. That's 877-479-8178, or go to theinternationalforecaster.com. Frank in New York, you're on the air with Bob Chapman. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Bob and Joyce. How are you doing?
Just great, thanks.
Great.
Go ahead.
Good. I have actually one question and a comment. And the question sort of follows with what you just said about Germany wanting their gold back. In the 1930s, FDR confiscated the gold that the American people had and made it illegal to own gold. Considering right now that China has the right of eminent domain, and at the World Economic Forum in Davos this winter, one of the main topics regarding monetary policy was the fact that many countries and corporations want gold as opposed to fiat currencies. What is the likelihood that the government, as the economy collapses, the government will confiscate the private gold, as they did in the 1930s, in order to pay the debts off to the foreign nations and the multinational corporations?
Let's go to Bob Chapman then. Bob, your response to
in the 1930s, when the confiscation came out, in spite of the fact it was a $10,000 fine and a year in jail, only 25% of Americans turned their coins in. And so I think with less than 1% of Americans owning coins, I don't see any chance of that. And if they want gold, all they have to do is go to the ETF, the Exchange Traded Fund, called GLD, and they can scoop all their gold and pay them in dollars.
Hey, Bob Chapman, thank you for joining us in the Power Hour today. It's been great as usual. Thank you so very much. TheInternationalForecaster.com.